This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
From a team full of young talent, a quarterback coming off of a serious injury, and the possibility of being a serious contender, a team still trying to make a name for themselves under a new head coach and a journeyman quarterback, to two teams that will likely be in the bottom 5 of the NFL, the NFC South is quite possibly the worst division in the NFL.
Has there been a play, whether an individual or team period out here, that's made you stop and been like, oh, we're going to be good this year?
I mean,
It's okay if it was your own.
yeah, not really.
And in today's video, we're going to be going over what makes this the worst division in the NFL, as well as how I believe only one of these teams from the division will make the playoffs. This is why the NFC South is the worst division in the NFL. Now we're going to start with the Atlanta Falcons, and I mean, what an offseason it has been for them. While they did have a little bit of bad press around the Michael Penix pick in the draft, they have been nearly perfect aside from that. They were already considered a likely favorite to edge out Tampa Bay to win the NFC South, but after a busy week of transactions that has seen them bring in Matthew Judon and Justin Simmons, it's surely their division to lose. And now, yes, I know that either of those players that were mentioned aren't very young anymore, but they still can make an impact on this roster. And on top of that, the Atlanta Falcons finally get a position of need that they haven't had for like the past decade in Matthew Judon. For years, the Falcons have been neglecting the pass rushing position, which is one of the reasons why the Penix pick was so controversial. The fans wanted a premier pass rusher there, and instead they got a backup quarterback in the first round and waited until round 3 to select Braylon Trice as their edge rusher. Unfortunately for Trice, he did tear his ACL earlier in the preseason, which is a heartbreaker for him and perhaps gave Atlanta even more motivation to go after Judon. And honestly, for me, I love the Judon trade. The dude is a fantastic pass rusher, and I definitely think he's going to be a factor that helps get this team over the edge. Not only will he be an invaluable asset for Atlanta in rushing the passer, but he will also help the defense as a whole. If he can upgrade this D-line and make them a more dangerous unit, that will filter through the secondary and make the defense an all-around much tougher group to attack. Last year, Judon missed most of the 2023 season with a torn bicep, but in just 4 games, he still managed to produce 8 sacks, and across 2 seasons prior, he picked up 28. Like, I mean, the dude can still play, and he is the perfect addition for Atlanta. Now, of course, the other big addition this offseason was Kirk Cousins, who answers a quarterback question that has been plaguing the Falcons ever since Matt Ryan left. He's definitely coming off of a serious injury with the Achilles, but the hope is that he can return and deliver the kind of play that put him over 4,200 yards in every season between 2020 and 2022. And I mean, even prior to his injury last year, he was on track to match that 4,200 yards again and continue that streak. And I mean, if he can continue that streak, that will be exciting news for Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and company, especially when you consider the very talented running back room that defenses also have to worry about, comprising of Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. And like, I mean, when we look at the offensive line, they're a top 10 unit as well. So I mean, really, the Falcons have everything they need on the offensive side of the ball. Like, I mean, I think it's safe to say that the Falcons this year are all in, and if they don't win it, it's pretty much just a Super Bowl or bust year at this point with all the additions that they have made. Like, I mean, when you look at the very talented offense, they've got everything. They've got Kirk, they've got Bijan, they've got a #1 wide receiver and a star tight end in Kyle Pitts. Like, not much more you can ask for if you're a Falcons fan there. And then, I mean, when you flip to the defensive side of the ball too, they've got everything you need on that side of the ball as well, and a premier pass rusher in Matthew Judon, AJ Terrell, and Jeffrey Simmons now that they just signed as well. Like, again, this defense is looking very scary right now. Like, I mean, honestly, at this point, everything pretty much hinges on how well Kirk Cousins will play this season, and then after that, it just comes down to how good Michael Penix is after Kirk Cousins leaves in what, 1 to 2 years maybe? Like, I mean, it's definitely no doubt the Falcons are a top team in my estimations in not only the NFC South, but the entire NFL, I'd say too. I am giving them a ceiling of 13 wins and a floor of 9. I mean, I honestly can't wait to see if they get it done. As a Saints fan, it does hurt me to say that, but honestly, I think this team is very, very good and kind of flying under the radar right now. And like, I mean, honestly, when we look at their schedule, this seems like pretty much a cakewalk besides those 2 games early against the Eagles and Chiefs at the beginning of the season. And I mean, the Cowboys are always a juggernaut in the regular season too, so that November 3rd matchup might be a little bit closer. But I mean, besides that, there's really no other good teams on this schedule, and I mean, they look like they should at least win no less than 11 games this year. Now, my second place team in the NFC South is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are entering the season having locked up quarterback Baker Mayfield on a 3-year, $115 million deal. Last year, Mayfield passed his audition with flying colors, overachieving and even somehow securing a wildcard round round win over the Eagles. However, he will have to do it without the offensive coordinator Dave Canales, who has taken up the vacant head coaching role in Carolina. Canales is widely praised for his role in not only helping Baker, but also helping Geno Smith re-find his form in Seattle before heading back over to Tampa Bay and helping Baker there. And honestly, it's going to be really interesting to see how Baker gets on without him. One criticism of Canales last year could be his resilience on a poor run game, not helped by a woeful offensive line. The Bucs averaged just 3.4 yards per carry, which ranks dead last in the NFL. Nevertheless, Rachaad White was constantly asked to pound the rock, registering the second most carries, but just the 14th most yards, not even surpassing 1,000 yards. The good news on the front is that Tampa Bay found a beast in the draft though. And I mean, honestly, in Graham Barton, this dude's already been raising eyebrows in the preseason. Barton can pretty much play any position on the offensive line, but he looks set to slot in at center. With Tristan Wirfs still going strong at left tackle and sophomore Cody Mock coming off of a rookie season in which he played all 17 games, hopefully this unit can improve and provide Baker with a much more balanced offense. In the passing game, we really all know how good Mike Evans can be, and I expect an even better season from Chris Godwin now that he is moving back into the slot, but fans are also very excited to see how a third-round rookie Jalen McMillan, who was 1/3 of the Washington Huskies dynamic receiver trio and has also been impressing a lot during training camp. I mean, on this offense too, there is a lot of talent, just honestly a lot of underrated talent that's hopefully going to be able to just really elevate Baker this season. On defense though, the Bucs have just really become renowned for dominating against the run, thanks large in part to their top tier nose tackle Vita Vea. Because of his daunting presence in the middle, we can expect teams to take to the air to win against the Bucs. While that is definitely the right thing to do, it doesn't mean that it's going to be easy though. I mean, in the secondary, they do have Antonio Winfield Jr., who is arguably the best safety in the NFL and has just been paid accordingly too. He had 3 interceptions, 12 passes defended, and also notched the second most tackles on the team last year with 122. Like, I mean, it's safe to say this dude is a leader of this defense, benefiting from a very solid Jamel Dean, Travere Thomas, and Jordan Whitehead alongside him. I mean, honestly, the secondary is going to need to be good too and at least stick to those receivers, because the one area of weakness in the defense is probably their pass rush. Kalijah Cansey, Yaya Dabai, and Randy Gregory all have the potential to contribute, but it feels like the Bucs are missing that big name who can really attack the quarterback. As we just saw with the Falcons going and getting Judon, the Bucs really don't have that guy on their defensive line. I mean, a really solid year, just like a 9 or 10 win season for the Bucs, and honestly, again, just like the Falcons, how it came down to Kirk, it's really going to come down to how Baker does without Canales, helping him navigate this offense. And with that being said, I think the ceiling for this team is around like the 9 or 10 win mark, which would be a 1-game improvement. However, I am very aware that his career has tended to fluctuate from season to season, and with question marks surrounding the offensive line, I could see the floor of this team being around the 7-win mark. Are you looking for a new book this football season? BetUS is the answer. They have the fastest and easiest payouts in the industry, along with 24/7 personalized service 365 days a year. Not only that, but they have live wagering on all major games, so if you see something mid-game and want to make a wager on it, you can. And the best part is you get 10% back on your net losses twice a year. And now look, you guys know I had to come through for you, so use my sign up link in the description or pinned comment and get a sign up bonus of 125% up to $2,000. Again, thank you to BetUS for sponsoring today's video, but for now, let's hop back into it. Now, in a shocking turn of events, I don't have the Carolina Panthers in last place in this division. Last year was a mess, don't get me wrong, but they have made a sensible and really good moves to support their struggling quarterback, and Dave Canales is absolutely the right guy to hopefully get him back on track. As we just went over before, he worked wonders with Baker Mayfield last year, resulting in the journeyman quarterback earning his first lucrative deal since his frustrating departure from Cleveland, as we just discussed. And like, I mean, look, Bryce Young had absolutely nothing to work with last year when dropping back to pass, and the offensive line only made things worse. He was sacked 62 times, completing just 59.8% of his passes for 2,877 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. Like, it was just really bad last year. Thankfully, the Panthers did realize that they really just had to upgrade at a lot of spots to hopefully help Bryce Young. And in this offseason and coming into the preseason, that's exactly what they've done. Starting off, Robert Hunt earned a very nice $100 million contract to protect Bryce Young from the right guard position for the next 5 years, with Damian Lewis taking over at left guard. Like, Hunt has allowed just 12 sacks on over 3,300 snaps, whereas Lewis earned a 97.2% pass block efficiency efficiency rating. And I mean, on paper, this is a fantastic upgrade to the interior line for Young, and one that could be essential in him actually being able to show what he can do. And with the protection finally being sorted too, Carolina then made sure to improve Young's receiving options. Deontay Johnson is the headline name, joining the Panthers in a fantastic trade in which they gave up just a 6th-rounder and cornerback Dante Jackson. Johnson's exactly what Young needs. Like, the dude can absolutely separate from coverage, which was a rarity last year in Carolina, and he has the juice to properly threaten the secondary. And don't get me wrong, last year Thielen was getting peppered with targets because he was the only guy that really could get open. But now for Bryce Young to now be able to send all those targets to a much younger and better athlete in Johnson is brilliant for his development. Johnson taking over the #1 role allows Thielen to slip back into a better suited support role from the slot, with Jonathan Mingo and rookie Xavier Legette hopefully developing and adding a spark as well. The team also drafted tight end Jatavion Sanders, who was a popular prospect during the pre-draft process. But an even more popular prospect was running back Jonathan Brooks, who the Panthers traded up for in the 2nd round. There's every chance that he would have been a 1st-round draft pick if he hadn't suffered an ACL tear in the later stages of the 2023 season. But I mean, this dude is a dynamic all-around running back who adds much needed spark to the offense. He's another who could benefit from the new additions of the offensive line, and yet another new target to help Bryce Young in the passing game. Sadly though, on the defensive side of the ball, Brian Burns was traded, which cleared up space for the Panthers to sign Jadeveon Clowney, who continues his tour of various NFL rosters. And despite being 31, Clowney can honestly still bring some heat when needed as a 3rd down rusher, and even as early down rushes too if needed. He had 9.5 sacks for the Ravens last year, which tied his career high, but that was on a much more talented unit and a contending team. It honestly might be a little bit of a stretch to expect the same out of him in Carolina. Nevertheless though, he still is a good name to add to the defense, and he was joined by other good veterans such as Josie Jewell, Dane Jackson, DJ Wanham, Troy Hill, Xavier Woods, and Jordan Fuller. There's a lot of new names on this defense, and it remains to be seen really how they're going to be able to work with each other on this unit. But then with JC Horn then anchoring the secondary, this defense honestly has plenty of talent to build around, and in 2023 they allowed the 4th fewest yards in the league, surrendering just 4,997 yards. However, the spotlight in 2024 will definitely be on Bryce Young. The offensive additions made this offseason should help his development considerably, and when we factor in the already solid defense, I could see the Panthers improving to a ceiling of like 8 wins in 2024 with a floor of 5. I mean, as we look at their schedule, honestly, it's not the easiest, but it's also not the hardest schedule either. I mean, like, at the beginning of their schedule, they do have some tough games against the Chargers, the Bengals, and the Bears, which I fully do expect to be a playoff contending team this year. But then again, they go on a bit of a stretch where they have Denver, New Orleans, the Giants, but then again, they go through a stretch where they have the Kansas City Chiefs, the Bucks, and the Eagles, and then the Cowboys, which all could be playoff teams right there. So again, this is going to be like a bottom 5 team in the NFL, I believe. Now, as it may surprise many of you, and considering that I am a Saints fan myself, I am fully going to humble all Saints fans out there right now and say that in my estimation, I truly do believe the Saints are going to come in last place in this division. Like, I mean, ever since the glory days of Drew Brees and Sean Payton, this has really just felt like a team that is wallowing in just mediocrity and not knowing which way to go, and just always finishing in the middle of the pack with like 7 or 6 wins. Like, really never bad enough to get a super high pick or never really good enough to make the playoffs. Like, they're just in limbo right now. And I mean, several quarterbacks have tried but failed to solve this problem, resulting in the big bucks deal for Derek Carr. And honestly, I'm not sure he has made Saints fans feel much better either, with just Twitter just completely just shredding this dude every time something is posted about him. But I mean, like, in Carr's defense, he did string together some nice performances in the later stages of the 2023 season, and he should benefit from the arrival of Clint Kubiak as offensive coordinator. Kubiak spent last year helping Brock Purdy and Brandon Ayuk produce career bests en route to a Super Bowl, which should please fans who want to see a big year from Carr and Chris Olave. And look, I mean, it's pretty much safe to say that Olave is the primary source of excitement on this offensive unit. Like, he's about as speedy as they come and can absolutely separate with ease from any cornerback. He's gone for over 1,000 yards in each of his first 2 seasons in the NFL, yet somehow it feels like he has much more to give to this team. And like, I mean, hopefully even coming from a Saints fan with the Kubiak system in place, we can really see Olave kind of unleash this year, even though his training camp interview didn't really kind of convince anybody, but it would make a huge difference to this team. But I mean, really, the success of this team isn't really hindering on the quarterback that not many Saints fans really like, but it comes down to just this horrendous offensive line that they have. Like, I mean, after selecting Trevor Penning in the first round 2 years ago, the Saints have endured an injury-plagued rookie season and a mistake-riddled sophomore campaign that saw him benched after just 6 games. Like, I mean, he is a big factor in why this unit has struggled so much, but it's it's not the only one. Like, I mean, this is probably one of the worst offensive lines in the league, which doesn't bode well when you have a quarterback who needs all the help he can get and two 29-year-old running backs in Alvin Kamara and Jamal Williams. Oh, and to make matters even worse, the offensive lineman that they just did draft this past year in the first round, he's now suffering from back injuries too. So we really don't know how in the lineup he's going to be or out of the lineup he's going to be. So that's not great either. And then when we flip to the defensive side of the ball, I mean, just age is the biggest factor for that side of the ball. Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, and Tyrann Mathieu are all undoubtedly playing at a high level, but are all comfortably past 30 now. And a decline or increased injury risk would come as no surprise. Jordan played through injury last year and is an absolute machine, having missed just one game throughout his entire career, but the mileage has to be taking a toll. And while there are exciting names on the defensive line, including Carl Granderson, Brian Breezy, and free agent signing Chase Young, I really just think that this team has too many deficiencies and issues across the rest of the roster to even effectively be good this year. Like, I mean, fundamentally it starts with the offensive line, and that's just terrible. Like, really, I'm not expecting much improvement there, which is why I'm setting their ceiling at like a disappointing, again, 7 wins, which they might get to, but then they're going to get like a 13th pick overall or something like that. But I really hope that they do tank as a Saints fan this year, and their floor, I think, is honestly like 4 wins. Like, it might even be 3. That's just how bad this team is. And truly, I do think that this is not only the worst team in the division, but quite possibly one of the worst teams in the NFL too. And I think Dennis Allen might be the first coach to get fired this year. But I want to know what you guys think. Who do you think is going to win this division? Give me each record prediction down below in the comments section. We are only like 10 or 11 days away from football, so I am going to try and knock out all of the divisions before the NFL season does come around. But let me know which division you want to see next. Also, if you guys have not, make sure that you guys like, comment, and subscribe as always. And if you did enjoy the content, make sure that you share this with an NFL fan and give me your predictions down in the comment section as well. And as always, I will catch you guys in the next one.